I was just getting back to back to back electrical diag, and the advisors had a hard time selling the time on it. But I had to fix it. Like, this is just the way my brain is wired. I've got a problem in front of me. I got to fix it, and I fixed it. I fixed all of them.
Yeah.
But the guy a couple bays down, where all he does is bang out brakes and ball joints and wheel bearings all day, he's getting paid 50% more than I am.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting, thought-provoking episode of the Jaded Mechanic Podcast. My name's Jeff, and I'd like to thank you for joining me on this journey of reflection and insight into the toils and triumphs of a career in automotive repair. After more than 20 years of skin knuckles and tool debt, I want to share my perspectives and hear other people's thoughts about our industry. So pour yourself a strong coffee or grab a cold Canadian beer and get ready for some great conversation. So when you get that far up there, like we hear talk, you know, the Canadians, they talk all the time about like going to the Mac, right? And what it's like to be out in the Mac and, you know, Fort McMurray and, you know, you're way out. Is it like that up there too, where you're kind of in a camp?
Yep. And, yeah, it's a camp. Yeah. Actually, the camp up there is pretty decent. But you're really limited for what you can get up there. Obviously, like, not only are you that far north, but you're on an island. So I actually had figured it out once where if I stole a fuel truck and it were the middle of winter, so the ocean was frozen, I still couldn't make it back to civilization with the amount of fuel I had.
To drive on the ice, you couldn't make it.
Wow, the coldest I've seen there was minus 76 Celsius, which is minus 105 Fahrenheit. Yeah, I learned a lot there. So as a fleet analyst, you go over all kinds of things from work efficiency to pattern failures and finding corrections for it. But basically, you fix problems wherever the problems exist. Yeah. And it's your job to identify the problem, and it's your job to fix it.
And that climate gives a completely different set of failures, right, to a piece of machinery.
Yeah. So, like, one of the most common haul trucks for Caterpillar when you get to the Ultra class is the 793. And as of, I don't know what year it was, maybe let's say it's 7 years ago, they went to what they call Tier 4. So it's got DEF and it's got all that stuff. And at Baffinland, the temperature that the fittings would get at would create them to crack because they would shrink at different rates. Different. So they ended up updating the DEF lines and these adapter fittings on every truck in the world based on our findings.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When you think about it, right? Like, it's kind of like the most extreme test that you put on the machine. You come up with a solution for it, or you're part of a team that does, and then it just becomes standardized parts across the whole world. That's pretty cool, man. That's really neat. I'd love to go up there just to experience that. Like, just to think about that cold, minus 104.
Yeah.
Like my friends in North Carolina that, you know, Lucas, well, we get snow here.
Yeah, it ain't the same.
Yeah, you get snow because you're on a mountain, dude. Like, you get a little bit of, you know, it never stops wind blowing there. Yeah. So then, you know, the temperature comes down a bit and you get some snow. It's pretty Christmas snow. 104 below. There's nothing like that in the world.
Yeah.
So, like,
even when it's really cold at home, you walk outside, like, it takes you a couple minutes to feel cold, right? At that temperature, it's immediate. You immediately feel cold. But yeah, like, I'd recommend to anyone who could get out that way, definitely go once in the winter and once in the summer, and then probably never go back again.
Yeah. So when you're in camp like that, what's the boredom like? Is it tough?
Well, you're working 12 to 14 hour days. So basically, like, in the morning, you get up. If you go to the gym, you go to the gym, you eat breakfast, you go to work, You get home, you eat. If the internet's good enough that night to send a message to your wife or kids, you do that, and then you just pass out.
Yeah.
If you work an easier job, then like maybe you bring up some videos on your laptop and you watch a little bit of movies. But they got a pretty decent gym up there. They got a pool room where they got a bunch of pool tables, and they got some guitars and stuff. And so like there's some stuff for people to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pay is good?
Yeah. Pay is pretty good. Yeah. 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 So during COVID, it went from 2-week rotations up to 4-week rotations at Baffinland. And like 4 weeks at Baffinland is a long time. That's a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that gets to be an experiment on social,
Yeah.
kind of like the Lord of the Flies type shit, right? Where people start to spend too much time together, and you start to look at the weak links within the group and prey on them. Wow. That'd be too. I don't think I could be up there a month.
Yeah. And then you're home for a month. And now you got to convince yourself, okay, I got to go back. I got to go back to this place. Not easy. So after a while, it dialed back to 3 weeks, and then it didn't look like it was ever going back to 2 weeks. And I didn't sign up for 3 weeks at Baffinland. So that's when I got the job at Ford. And when I quit Tormont at that time, I wasn't quitting Tormont. I was quitting working at Baffinland. So the plan was always to get back into Tormont. And I knew this other mine, I Am Gold, at Cote Gold in Gogama, was opening up. And I knew they were having autonomous trucks there.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand, like, these trucks are like 3-story houses, fully autonomous, driving themselves. It's wild. So the mine did end up opening up, and then I got hired on as the guy to fix these autonomous systems on these trucks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that's a lot of laptop programming.
Yeah.
Electrical slide diag.
Yeah, exactly. It's all electrical and programming and calibrations, stuff like that.
ADAS on a whole other level.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on, man.
It's really cool. And you know what? The feeling never gets old when you're sitting in the truck and it's driving itself. And like, it gets going pretty fast. Like on like over 60K an hour with 212 ton of rock in the box.
Yeah. It's literally like a house going down the street. Yeah. Like, so when those things are working in the mine, is there somebody in the seat, but essentially it's not, it's completely
empty. Wow. No one in it.
So the loader loads it and it drives itself over to the pile or wherever it's got to go down the road, right? Dump the load, comes back.
Yep. So there's someone, their job is called the controller. So they tell the trucks where they're getting loaded and where they're dumping. Mm-hmm. And then assuming that job never changes for the entire day, like, they're done. Obvious, like, the job does change throughout the day, but so they say, so the trucks will queue up at the loader will hit a button, the truck will back in next to him, loader fills it up, loader hits another button and tells it to go on its merry way to the dumping location, goes there, dumps, and comes back. Yeah.
I did a very short tenure when I graduated. I graduated through Sanford Fleming in heavy equipment in 95, I think it was, 96. And I worked at Tormont Cat in Stony Creek.
Okay.
So Hamilton, which was Stelco steel and everything, right? Yeah. And I wasn't ready for that. But I remember the first day I pulled in at Cat to drop my toolbox off, it was like a Saturday. And there's a picture somewhere of my stepfather's Ford truck parked in the bucket of one of these big trucks that they had, which they're not even as big at Stelco at the steel as what, like, you guys see up on the mine sites, right? Those haul trucks. But it was still like we could park the whole truck right in the bucket of this loader. And people had no idea. I don't know. I think it was like a 793 or something at the time. It was one of their biggest loaders that they made.
Yeah.
And of course, and I was amazed at the size of the machinery in that shop. And then Stony Creek was cool because it had a whole section of the shop which was Stelco work, right? Like those kind of graders and all that kind of stuff. And then they had a whole other truck shop. So there was all of these different rigs in every night, and they were resealing. They were resealing the front cover on a Cat nonstop. I mean, they leaked constantly. It seems that's all they were doing was front cover reseal, front cover reseal, front cover reseal, and those guys would do like one a night, no problem. And then it would the next night they'd be doing another one, and the next night they'd be doing another one, and then once in a while they'd be doing something different. But it was nonstop. Like and so I didn't have enough experience on the job to last at Stelco at Cat, but it was pretty cool to see. They're a pretty cool company. I can remember walking into the parts department and the guy literally saying, I don't know, whatever it was, their little loader, like the size of like a Case 580, right? And he's like, we have every part number in the catalog for this machine. We could build a machine without a VIN number or anything, like with every part in here, we have it. But he said like it was incredible. I'd never seen anything like that. They're an amazing company. So I've never been to the mine thing. I went to Stelco a couple times on some field service jobs with the guys, and that was pretty eye opening.
Yeah, with these bigger pieces of gear, they'll tear it down to a bare frame, do a full inspection, repair it, and rebuild the whole truck with all brand new parts. Basically all you're keeping is the VIN number, the serial plate. And like there's some haul trucks in Timmins that got like 1 million hours on them. It's insane. That's like 5 million kilometers on a car.
And still going. You know what I mean? Like, what's it so how is it, do you miss, like, if you're still so when you come home from the mine, do you still take a job working at the shop, or you're all done with that?
No, I'm done with that. So when I was still in the warehouse and working at Volkswagen, my second daughter was born, and that's when I called it quits at Volkswagen. And they were sad to see me go, and I was sad to leave, but I needed that time when I was off to support my family, physically, more than monetarily wise. Yeah.
And you don't miss it, I think.
I do. Like I miss working on cars, but I tried. I kind of scratched that itch with Canadian Mechanic Hangout, where like people will ask questions and we get to help them out. And sometimes we're spoon feeding some stuff that they could have figured out on their own, but often there's a lot of stuff that like you've never seen before and you would never think of it. And it helps everyone out because 6 months down the line, some other guy might be running into the same issue. It creates a database of these issues.
And I'm new to that group. Like I've only been in there a little while, right? You were nice enough to add me. And I was like, I reached out to you and I said, like, some of the stuff that these guys, are struggling with seems to me, really rudimentary stuff. And then you're good enough to remind me that a lot of them are in maybe a job like you are, right? Where they're not getting their hands on a Ford truck every day.
Or
you know what I mean? They might be, ever, and they might be working on something totally different all the time. And then they get stuck with that truck, or they're not stuck with it, but it could be their own, the wife's, mother-in-law's, whatever. And, I just try to help them out because, I mean, I love the diagnostic side of the challenge of it. Is just like, I love it. Like I could stare at that all day long and then try and interpret what's going on. Most of the time I'm not right, but I mean, it's interesting because to me, it's one of the best ways to generate the conversation as to going on, right? Is how each other understands and learns and approaches different things. That's how those great conversations start. Is it's like, well, look at this data. What do you think's going on? Okay, so why do you think that's going on based on this? Not saying you're right or wrong, just, hey, help me out here. Tell me what you think. And, man, I've made a lot of good friends through those kind of conversations, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned I've learned as much that way as I ever did staring at it when it was actually hooked to a car.
Yeah, it's not about what that final answer is. It's about the journey to get there. The different stuff you learn on the way there. And then next time something maybe not the same but similar comes up, and you're in your mind, you're already 3/4 of the way through that flow chart. you already got a bunch of it figured out, because, well, it can't be this because that's good. Yeah. Diag is something I love, but in this industry, it's so difficult to get paid for it.
It's such a frustrating thing. We were talking about that today. I was talking to Lucas, and there's so many different ways. Not that there is only really one right way to fix a car. For the most part, a repair is really, there's only one right way to do most repairs. But there's certainly so many different processes that guys have and how they approach the diagnostic side of it, right? The troubleshooting, because guys laugh at me because if you look at how I do it, it looks like I'm running around with a chicken with my head cut off. Like it's just, and I'm a slow starter. I'll spend an hour just staring at the stupid wiring diagram or the theory of operation, and I'll walk over and I'll do 2 tests, and then I'll walk back and I'll stare at it for another hour. But I don't, or I walk out to it and I spend 15 minutes and I go, well, it's going to need that to start.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just kind of flick a switch and I don't even think about it after that. It's like, okay, my brain is shut off now until I have this coil in my hand or this part. We had a 2019 Ram with in the shop this week, got towed in. It's in kind of like a theft mode. The 4-ways are flashing, the horn goes off. It's push button start. Push button start is not doing anything. It's unresponsive. And they have what they call a frequency hub, RF frequency hub, radio frequency hub, RFB or RFH. And it's, for all intents and purposes, it's like what the old, when I worked at Chrysler way back in like 2000, 2008, it was essentially the WIN module, wireless ignition node. Yep. Now they take it and they stick it on the rear cab wall underneath the power sliding window.
Yeah.
So the water that leaks from the third brake light and the power sliding window leaks on the top of this RF hub. So we get this in and, it's go out to the parking lot and the battery's dead. Throw a charge on. As soon as the battery gets any life in it, horns going off. It's like, oh, it's one of them. Try to get in, push the button, nothing's happening. Great. So I call up my buddy that I used to work with in Ottawa, and I said, didn't you have something going on with an RF hub last month? And he's like, yeah. And he said, remember I had a rotted wire to it. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. I'm like, that's on the back. He's like, yeah, there's this technical bulletin, whatever, check that out. So we pull up the bulletin, and the bulletin talks about they're bad for water intrusion or whatnot. But, it's a bulletin. It doesn't really tell you, break it down all the way as like how it should work, like how it's configured, everything else. So we're like, put the scanner on it. Of course, you can't talk to anything because you can't turn the key on. So then I have to call him back, and I'm like, hey, should I be able to talk to the RF hub with like the key turned off with the scan tool? He's like, yep. So I said, if I can't talk to it, he's like, then you just check your power and grounds and your CAN at it. And if that's all good, he says, you're going to need one. That was it for me. Yeah. I wasn't the one working on it, but the other guy did those couple tests, and it's like, I don't even at that point after that, I don't think my brain's not wired where I want to know further how that works. It's like the flat rate side of me kicks in again. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
If we had a 22 Charger on the lot, completely different car, essentially the same system, though, same key, the whole thing. We go out, put the scan tool on it, don't have to turn it on. The RF hub talks to the scan tool. I'm like, needs an RF hub. Just get one.
Yeah.
So now we're stuck. We take it over to the dealer because we're not cleared through NASTF yet to be able to get the security pin and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So our customer had towed it from the dealer to us for us to do the diag, tow it back to a different dealer in town here to say, hey, so there's a story to this. So you hear me all the time. I stand up for a lot of dealer techs, right? Because like You see them in the group sometimes, or any of the groups, and they're like, "Oh, dealer techs are assholes. They can't fix nothing." Blah 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 blah. Well, we take the truck over there, and first thing in the morning, the advisor calls us and says, "My tech's going to need an hour extra time because the battery's disconnected." Now, we had told them that the battery was disconnected because it was going into lockout. The battery would have been dead in the morning. We just did that as a courtesy so that you didn't have to. Well, he's going to need an hour to hook up the battery. Okay, whatever. You got us over a barrel. Like, we need this RF hub. We'd already ordered the part. The part was in, right? The diag was done. We just need the part programmed. You don't have to put the seat back in. You don't have to do nothing. Just plug it in, program it. Well, so that's at like 8 a.m. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they call us and they go, "Okay, it's ready. You can come pick it up." We're like, "Okay, that's cool." Obviously, the diag was right. And just said, "Oh, yeah. Yep. Start it right up. Come get it." We come and get it, bring it back into shop. Look, battery cable's not even tight. We had to tighten the battery cable. So they charged us $100 extra. And they didn't even do whatever the advisors said they had to do. Yeah. It was worth $100. They didn't even do that job. So my boss is like, he's kind of pissed off, and I'm sitting there on both sides going, well, maybe they did it this way because he wasn't getting maybe all the time he thought he should have for that job. Maybe that's the excuse that he was giving them. I don't know, right? But it's a slippery slope because I know techs that work at that dealer, right? I don't know who worked on the truck, but I'm just like, it's really hard to stand up for guys, in the industry when they do shenanigans like that. I know none of us are perfect, but I mean, literally, like, it showed up and you could have pulled the negative cable off with your hand. The bolt wasn't even tight. Like, it's just janky.
Yeah. So yeah, that's tough. Like, I doubt he left it loose on purpose. It was probably by accident, but I mean, like, the first thing they teach you when you're an apprentice is if there's something you left loose under the hood, oil cap, whatever, stick something in the latch, and whenever you go to slam that hood down,
you break the hood.
Yeah. you'll remember to do whatever it was you forgot. Yeah.
I just felt miffed because, I mean, he's essentially getting, I think it was like $2,500 to put this module in and program it.
And you already had everything apart.
Yeah. And he still couldn't remember to, like, tighten the battery cable up. But I mean, I've been the dealer. Like, I understand how it happens. It just,
yeah.
Do better.
Yeah.
So you miss working on cars?
Yeah, I do. I mean, if I had my own garage, I'd probably take in some side work, but I don't want to be held to a schedule when I'm home. Yeah. I love the exercise of going through Diag, but I don't know if I would get that kind of work really working out of my own garage, right?
Yeah, unless you marketed yourself and said, "Hey, this is what I want to do and I'm good at it." But even then, like, I look at that because I entertain that notion too of like, well, I don't want to work, because my summers I want to keep free, right? I want to fish every time. I don't want a whole customer base of people that are constantly dropping junk piles off in my driveway and hoping that I can fix them after work, or, like with my job, it's Monday to Thursday. So I don't want to spend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday working for cash to make more money, right? The money would be nice to have, but how do you tell those people that it's like, okay, it's June, I'm going to go bass fishing now. I won't be thinking about fixing cars on weekends until November. Whatever you need between now and then, sorry, you're SOL. Like, I don't want to be that guy. But I got thinking, well, maybe I could do some Diag at home, kind of get my name out there and make some money. And then I started looking at what it would cost, investment wise for tooling. And then you think about sometimes the amount of customers that, like, would search out somebody doing side work for a cheaper price. And then you're trying to say, hey, I only really want to do Diag. I don't want to put brakes and control arms on your Mazda, because that's not boring. That's boring. Like, I don't want to do it. I'm looking at it, I'm like, nah, I just don't think I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think, like, something really interesting would be like what Jordan does at AutoAid, where you go shop to shop and do Diag for shops.
Yeah. Has he told you some of the stories that he's run into?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we talk
They're fascinating.
all day, every day, pretty much. We talk a lot.
Yeah. He's a super guy. He's so cool. He really is. And smart, man.
Yeah.
Like next level smart. Like I'm okay, but he's like really up there. You know?
I mean, when that's all you're doing day in and day out is diag, you see a lot of issues and you get to practice those skills and refine them. Yeah, I would love to do something like that, but I don't think that there's a market for that.
Then he'll tell me though, like he went to a Midas. Maybe I shouldn't have said the shop name, but he went to a store that had an express van there that they had held for him because it's like it had no signal lights, no four ways, no signals. And I don't know if they'd done anything or what, but it had sat there, I guess, a week because the customer dropped it off and they're like, okay, we're going to schedule this time. We're going to have a guy come in. And on that one, the fuse panels, one of the fuse boxes underneath the driver's seat. And, you know, he gets there and it's like, he's looking at it. Somebody removed the relay.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
A missing relay. Like, he's like, I'm like, he's like, oh, it was a relay. And I'm like, because we're talking, he'll show up at like lunchtime when I was there doing training. I'm like, so what'd you do this morning? He's like, you tell me. And I'm like, oh yeah. What was that like? He's like, well, it was a relay. I'm like, you mean they couldn't diagnose a bad relay? He's like, no, they didn't have to diagnose a bad relay. They didn't even bother to check to see that the relay was installed.
Yeah, that happens way more often than you would think. Like a lot.
Yeah, he tells me and I'm like, how does that happen? Because you hear stories, Lee, about guys talking about like auction cars.
Yeah.
Auction cars that they buy are constantly bugged, right? Guys go to auctions and pull stuff to get it cheaper across the line, right? When they buy it. And then it winds up at some shop and, you know, if you've got the process down, you figure it out. But Jordan's like, no, I go to these shops and it's like they don't even have a rudimentary approach to how to go to some of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you watch him and you're like, wow, that's a process. Like he literally, you know, gets most of the problems figured out within an hour. It's incredible.
Yeah, like in the States, they often refer to their techs as like A, B, and C techs. And like a lot of these shops, they've only got C techs and maybe like a weak B. And they just don't even bother trying to figure out any diag. They just call it in when they need it.
But I mean, I look at it and it's like, and I'm sure he's making good money, and I'm sure the business is doing okay. But I'm just amazed at like, how does the level get to that low where they don't even let some of the tech and I want to say, are they not letting the techs try? Like, is that maybe the policy in some of those shops is like, we're not even going to try. We're just going to call it in.
So I think from the stories I've heard is they usually give it a shot, but they don't waste a lot of time. They'll call in for some help and just get it corrected in a reasonable amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that AutoAid's a fantastic company. Like that was the first time I had been exposed to them. And Jordan's telling stories, about have you met? Is his name Alan, the older gentleman?
I haven't actually been there.
Yeah. Jordan, they'll go. Sometimes I think they ride together, and Al goes out and just rides along with them. And Al is the former, I guess he taught at one of the colleges forever.
Okay.
Automotive, and is super smart guy himself, like just brilliant. And, older, retired out from teaching, but wants to stay active. So he rides on Jordan. To see those two interact with each other, it's hilarious. But so much knowledge in those two guys. It's incredible. Like, I would love to ride around with Jordan and him for a day just to watch the banter that would go on back and forth, and then actually how they would approach the fixing the stuff, because it would be so cool to witness it. It'd be really neat. So I'm hoping, I'd love to have Jordan on eventually as a guest, because I think he'd have some really cool stories to tell.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure he would do it. I know. I kind of talked to him about it before, and he was kind of into it. So
yeah. Yeah. Like I remember I went there, and then the second week, he says, "Oh, you're the famous guy." And he's like, "Me," and I'm like, "Oh," I said, "You've been talking to Lee. Like I'm not famous. I just, So then everybody else in the room was like, "What do you mean?" "Oh, I have this stupid podcast." And then it's like, "Oh, okay." So I probably did the class and walked out of there with 6 new listeners or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, you're that famous guy. No, I'm not famous. I just talk shit on the internet. I'm not famous.
Yeah, I had said that kind of jokingly. I'm like, "Oh, hey, did you know you have a celebrity coming in tomorrow?"
So Jordan's like, "Oh, you're the celebrity." God damn it, Lee. No, the level of training that they put out is fantastic. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. And I mean, I came back from that course. My boss was cool enough to pay for it, sign us up for it and everything else. And then he tells us, "Okay, so, you all pass the course or whatever. That's great. The money for the provincial grant or something paid for it. So that's all cool. Oh, by the way, I'm going to give you all 50-cent raise too for doing that."
Oh, wow.
And we're like, "You didn't have to do that, dude. Like, you paid for us you paid for the course." Well, like, it's in Barrie, right? We live in Kingston area. So it's 3 hours drive up every Thursday night, sit there all day long. We got 5 banked days that we got to take off over the Christmas holiday. So I was off from literally I think it was the 17th of December. I was off until, I can't even remember what day I came back in January, like the 7th or something like that. Like, it was like I had over 2 weeks off and a full 5 days paid plus my holidays. Like, it was amazing. So for him to go and give us another raise for just taking that course, we're over the moon ecstatic. I mean,
that's amazing. I never got to go for any kind of training when I was at an independent. The only training I've ever gone for was when I was at the dealer. And some of it was okay, but a lot of it was like, yeah, I already know all this. Like, it was just a check mark that box on the required training list.
Yeah. And I always found, like, people heard me say it before in the dealerships, like, okay, we want you to become certified on the product. So you sit through their online nonsense, and it's Ohm's law and basic series circuits, parallel circuits. And it's like, okay, I got 20 some years in. I've got this down. Like, can I just skip level 1? And I can get to where the meat and potatoes of actually how your product is different from somebody else's.
Yeah.
You learn the nuances, right? Nope. Yeah. And I look at it and like, and all that time had to be, they wanted you to log in and do it after work at night, unpaid. I'm like, not doing that. I'm not doing it. I'm not reciting more Ohm's law shit theory that I learned 25 years ago for free. I'm not doing it. Not so that your warranty claims can get paid. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what it boils down to. I can fix the car. So it's just a situation. You need me certified to fix the car. Well, I need to get paid to become certified. And that's maybe a crappy attitude, but I find that the OEs are going to have to start catching up. I mean, training's got to become more and more of a priority for more people in the industry.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way around it.
So when I went for training, actually with any of the dealers I worked at, they paid me my hourly rate for the day, and they paid for travel. So I got pretty lucky there, I guess. They never, actually at Ford, they did want me to do some e-training for free. Basically, I did it like, say a module was programming. At Ford, I only had one bay. So if a module was programming, I'd bang out a few e-learning courses while I was waiting for that. So I got paid for it, but not really.
Yeah, but not really. Not the way you could have, right? Like, I mean, you could have said, okay, I'm going to need 2 bays and I'll program 2 cars at once, right? Instead of like giving something back to them. I understand it, but I mean, I'm blessed. This job that I've got now is fantastic. I mean, he treats me so good. He treats all of us great. That it's finally nice to finally see that. What your training for Tormont? How does that work?
So in Concord, there's a training center that Tormont runs, but for the autonomy stuff, like everything I take care of, my training was in Arizona.
Wow.
And actually, my cross shift, he just went for training in Australia. Yeah, so Australia actually is where all the autonomy was kind of born.
Right.
Yeah, so I kind of feel a little hurt. I missed out on Australia, and I just went to Arizona, but Arizona was nice too.
That'd be awesome. Either one would be amazing,
Yeah.
but Australia would be pretty cool. I mean, shop owners flex about sending their guys to, North Carolina to train, but imagine sending your people to Australia to train.
Yeah.
It's a big expense.
Yeah. So this is the first mine for Tormont that has anything to do with autonomy. So we're really paving the roads here and trying to figure out what training we need, what training we don't need, how do we get the training. So it'll be easier for the people that come after us, for sure.
Is it a pretty foolproof system by now? Like, do you have a lot of, like, when you have I want to say a breakdown, what's it involve?
Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of the codes are pretty vague, and you got to kind of just figure it out based on what is or isn't working in the system. So the system consists of 10 or 12 basically Linux computers that are all talking to each other and talking to different sensors and stuff that's on the truck. And you can log into them through a web portal and see what they can see and what they can't see and all the PIDs. And there's not a lot of diagnostic information available. There's a lot of just figuring it out. Often the trouble tree will be check connections, check power and ground, replace unit with known good unit. right? Like the trouble tree that you hate to see. And that's often what it is. So it's evolving a lot, and the documentation isn't evolving with it. So as things go, we're kind of getting a local knowledge base kind of built up so that we can, for the main part, it's just me and the guy opposite me. So one person per shift that works on this stuff. And then some of the technicians who have gone for training can work on it if we're busy or if it's night shift. And then, but obviously they don't get that much exposure to it, so they have a lot harder time fixing it. Yeah.
So you'd recommend it to the young people coming into this industry?
Yeah. It's so if you have a lot of computer and networking knowledge and you have some electrical and diagnostic knowledge, man, does that make like a prime person for this position? Because you really got to understand electrical, and you got to understand pressure sensors and all that stuff, and just how the systems work. But the autonomy system is literally a computer network with a bunch of computers on it. So having the knowledge of that and the knowledge of mechanical and electrical really makes up for the prime person for this job. And there's not a lot of people. Usually people who are strong and in like automotive or heavy duty, they're really weak when it comes to computers, or people who are really good with computers are really weak when it comes to mechanical. So I'm lucky that in my younger years, I was really into computers and programming and building robots. Like remember the show Robot Wars? So I didn't do that, but I did similar to that on a smaller scale, where I built the robot, and actually I built like a basic AI for it, and they battled. I think it was sumo bots or something like that.
Oh,
yeah,
sweet.
It was pretty cool. So I was really lucky that when I went from that to automotive, the electrical knowledge went with me, and I was able to be really good at diagnostics and electrical and drivability. And then when I moved from that to mining, especially in this autonomy role, having those together really prepared me for this role.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. My boss jokes all the time, and like an EV course will pop up for Napa online, like a webinar, and I'm like, I'm going to skip that one. Because I don't want to think about them being so prevalent, like that they become more and more common. Because it's just the whole what's going on behind the scenes politically and the mandates and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of against being forced, to have it come in. But that being said, I forget some of us, I think, when we sit here and we think about, we're just going to be working on Teslas. But no, really, the theory and the technology that we're going to learn on Priuses and stuff like that is going to take us anywhere we want to go. Just like, just like EFI in the 80s when it hit and everybody panicked.
Yeah.
I can remember working at shops and guys were like, I can remember I worked at a Melrose Bobcat dealer, and there was like 3 older techs that worked there that it used to be automotive techs. And when EFI came in,
just called it,
went to go work on Bobcats because, they'd always kind of worked a little bit on diesel stuff, and they'd, grown up on farms and knew tractors really well. So they just went to working on Bobcats. They wanted no part of like OBD1 diagnostics for, a mixture solenoid on carburetor. They wanted no part of that. They thought it was stupid as hell, and they weren't going to mess with it. And it's so funny now. I think, where are they now? I wonder, those guys, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember that, I was like a young punk kid and they were in their 40s now. So, I mean, they might not even be still driving. But imagine the technology difference, like how fast it's gone.
Yeah.
From like 96 to now.
Yeah. Like right now in EVs, we're in like OBD0 and OBD1 for EFI, right? So once things get regulated a bit more, like OBD2, it's going to be interesting to see how things move.
Yeah, you're starting to scare me. So I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I won't keep any more of your time on a Saturday night. I really appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate how much help you've given me, support with the podcast on the Canadian Technicians Hangout group and whatnot. And I mean, certainly we'll get this one, out there as fast as we can. And then I hope that some of the other guys that are listening that are in that group, if you want to come on and tell me what you've been through, and like we want to push this podcast way more on the Canadian side, right? Like the industry is already online is so biased towards the Americans, and I love my American family, but they don't know what it's like to be at 104 below, like and to actually have to fix a machine. Like they're not built like we are. So I mean, I want to support and celebrate the badasses that we are up here and how we do it. So I want to thank you for coming on and sharing it. I mean, it's an interesting story because, I think you're a pretty humble dude. Like you don't even, you work on some pretty advanced, complicated stuff, and you're just very shucks about it. When I talk to you, it's just like, I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so man. The way I look at it is like anybody could fix it if they put enough effort. And I could teach anyone to fix anything as long as they put in the effort. Like nothing is really that hard, right? At least, I mean, like I don't think so. I think pretty much anything could be dumbed down so that anybody could do it.
I said to my coworker the other day, I said, and he's a young apprentice, and I said, you got to remember, this stuff when it comes into you is already broke. So, it doesn't mean that you just kind of go around clueless and reckless, but it's already broke. So, kind of spend some time and figure out why and the what, but don't be scared because it's already a broken car. So, we're going to give them a fixed car back. It's already broke. Just keep that in mind. We don't even know the severity of how broke yet. So you might probably not even going to make it worse. You just have to. But you make a good point about the diag thing and how nobody wants to pay for it. And I think we're slowly seeing that change. And it's we'll just keep having those conversations that we're having, with the guys in the group and whatnot about how to value themselves and how to value their business. That's the thing right now is I want to see the techs value themselves more. You know what I mean? Like, if you feel like you're being taken advantage of, or you feel like you're really, a pivotal person in that business, then, pump your chest out and take pride in what you do. And, if you feel like you're not being respected, go get that respect. You're not necessarily going to get it at the employer that you're at. Somebody out there will respect you. And, life's too short, man. Don't stay where you're not happy. Don't stay where you're not appreciated.
At the same time, though, you gotta show what you're worth with your work. You can't just walk in and say, "Hey, I'm worth this much," but you haven't shown that you're worth that much.
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't.
All right, I will. No, I'll let you go, man. All right. I appreciate you, and we'll have you on again at some point because I want to keep hearing these stories, and people from the automotive groups that are listening. You want to be on here, get a hold of me, please. Let's do this.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get you some more guys.
Love it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Later.
Take care. Hey, if you could do me a favor real quick and comment on, and share this episode, I'd really appreciate it. And please, most importantly, set the podcast to automatically download every Tuesday morning. As always, I'd like to thank our amazing guests for their perspectives and expertise, and I hope that you'll please join us again next week on this journey of change. Thank you to my partners in the ASA group and to the Changing the Industry podcast. Remember what I always say, in this industry, you get what you pay for. Here's hoping everyone finds their missing 10 millimeter, and we'll see you all again next time.